You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Monday, September 16th, 2019, start of a new crazy week, and it really is kind of crazy. Our phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And before we get into the news here, a real quick explanation about Friday, because apparently people weren't reading up at the top where I make the announcements. Our furniture arrived from Hawaii, and we had to put it into storage. And what really took up the time was going through the inventory to make sure that they hadn't lost anything, which, as it turns out, they have. So, and that's why we got a best of. And unfortunately, the news is it may happen again tomorrow because our car is being delivered, and they can't say exactly when we're going to have to be at the drop-off point, which is about 10 miles away from here. So again, I'm going to try and be here for the radio show, but there may be a best of. Now, after this, there's only going to be one more day where the show may be interrupted, and that's when we move from the storage facility into our new place, which is going to be sometime in early October. Okay, obviously the big news is over the weekend, two of Aramco's oil facilities in Saudi Arabia were attacked with multiple drone strikes. Some people are saying cruise missiles, and the Houthis took credit, saying we did it. But of course, Mike Pompeo, the all-knowing, the all-seeing, the all-wise, immediately said, "Oh no, this came from Iran. This definitely came from Iran. It was Iranian weapons. It was launched from Iranian soil." And so Trump is out there saying the U.S. is locked and loaded to respond to the Saudi attack. And it looks like war with Iran that the United States has been lusting for these many years is now inevitable. And let's see here. There we are. So Trump is out there saying, we're locked and loaded here. But, there's a little bit of an embarrassment. One of the reasons Trump may be ready to go on in and just smash up something very important. If you remember the petrodollar deal, and even Glenn Beck was talking about this morning. The petrodollar deal was that Saudi Arabia would sell their oil only for the US dollar, and in exchange, the United States would protect their borders. Obviously, over the weekend, proved the United States could do no such thing. Now, some people are saying that the drones were simply flying too low to be detected by the anti-air defenses provided by the United States. Some are saying that the drones were made from composite materials, which are more radar transparent. But Mike Pompeo is out there saying that absolutely U.S. intelligence shows Iran is involved. He's promising us proof just as soon as they can Photoshop it up. And oil prices are up. The stock market is down as a result. Now, I love this weird headline. This came from the Jerusalem Post. U.S. officials building a case against Iran. And that phrase, building a case, does make it sound like they're just going to take advantage of this attack on the Saudi oil facilities, which, again, the Houthi rebels are saying they did it. Iran is saying we had nothing to do with it. The Houthis are saying this was us. And the U.S. is saying, oh, no. It has to be Iran. And it looks like they're just going to use this as an excuse to start the war against Iran. Now, over at the Middle East Eye, their sources are saying that the drones were actually launched from Iraq and carried out the attack, and basically supposedly for revenge for Israel's drones against Iraqi assets here. So it's a strong Iranian revenge for the recent Israeli attacks by drones launched from SDF-controlled areas in Syria against pro-Iranian Hashid bases. It's a little bit of a mess over there. Another headline, this one is coming out of Blabberbuzz. U.S. prepares to strike Iran as the Middle East braces for war. And they're saying U.S. military action could be imminent. So they're out there loaded for bar, or as Trump would say, locked and loaded here. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina is out there saying, bomb Iran, break the regime's back, just go on and bomb the place flat. Well, Lindsey, if you really feel that way, here's your parachute, here's your rifle, here's your day-glow orange jumpsuit, and go and have fun. Now, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has told President Donald Trump the kingdom was willing and able to respond to the latest attacks claimed by Yemen's Houthi rebels on the oil facilities. And basically, the attacks resulted in the severing of about half of Saudi Arabia's oil output. Interesting little bit of timing, because Saudi Arabia was just getting ready to once again try and offer an IPO on Aramco, and they needed oil prices to go up, which they have. So there's another possible miscreant and another possible player, another possible motive for why this happened at this particular time. Now, several articles are saying that the drone strikes came in from the northwest and Yemen is at the southwest. But, you know, everybody's always lying on all of these things here. Now, China has issued a statement saying that prematurely assigning blame for the attack to Iran is irresponsible, and of course it is. It absolutely is, especially when you've got the Houthis saying, no, guys, we did this. But this, the attacks on the major Saudi oil installations show that the time has come to make peace with Yemen. Now, if Yemen has in fact domestically produced these drones, and let's be honest, drones are very easy to make with off-the-shelf technology. You know, get a GPS and, you know, improvise an autopilot, and you can get the pinpoint accuracy. But if Yemen really is building these things themselves, then they can hit anywhere in Saudi Arabia. So maybe it's time to cool this thing down a little bit. So basically, one of the issues that has come up lately is this idea of a mutual defense treaty between the United States and Israel, which would commit the United States to a war of Israel's choosing. And a lot of people are saying, you got to scream at Trump, this is not a good thing, because as long as Israel has access to the U.S. military, they will definitely use it. Meanwhile, Yemen's military is warning foreigners to leave the Saudi oil plants, saying that more attacks may be on the way. All right, we're going to take a phone call now. Philip in Virginia, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. Yeah, regarding what you're talking about right now with this Saudi development, my initial gut feeling was that it was neocon sour grapes for the firing of Bolton. What do you think about that?
Sounds like a little bit of a stretch here, but you know, at this point, there's all kinds of theories that are flying. Over at Veterans Today, they're even saying that Israel actually carried this out.
Well, that is definitely a consideration. But, I mean, aren't they part of the neocon, you know, orbit? I think it is. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I just think it's, you know, a totally staged event, you know, a false flag. I mean, look who cui bono.
Yeah.
The price of oil is going up, folks. Stock up on gasoline right now.
If this erupts into a full-blown war against Iran, gasoline and oil prices are going to go right through the roof.
Yeah. Yep. So that was my initial gut feeling when I heard about this. It was a sour grape retaliation for the firing of Bolton. And I know how people feel about, well, Trump should have never hired him. I agree with that, but he did, and he corrected it. But now, I mean, I heard we got John Bolton Light in the queue, so to speak. I forget the guy's name that he's considering for replacing Bolton, but basically he's John Bolton Light, But anyway, I mean, the whole thing just stinks, and it's, as usual, you and I are going to pay for it in one way or another, especially at the pumps probably. But you mind if I ask you a different question about a different subject?
Sure, go ahead.
With regards to gun control, here over where we're at in southeastern Virginia, Gabby Giffords is coming to campaign for anti-gun legislation, and I want to find out what really happened about this woman. The whole Jared Loughner thing, and accomplice that was not an accomplice. Now or later on in your program, if you or somebody wants to let us know what really happened about the whole Tucson shooting and the rise of Gabby Giffords and her, anti-gun tour and all this stuff, I know there's something in my gut that, I remember some other information about that, but it's been years ago about that. The real target was the judge, John, I forget his last name, but anyway, if anybody has any information about that, or I didn't see anything on your website about the Tucson shooting, but you still might be able to recall something that sounds like it was a staged operation as well.
I think most of them are staged operations.
Yeah, I mean, I know he was a mental case, and that they had prior knowledge of his mental incapacities and problems, and that I think he was on the psychotropics. But
perfect for recruitment.
Anyway, yep, absolutely. Okay, Mike. Well, appreciate it, and like I said, I think it's this whole Saudi thing is just neocon sour grapes, and we see that. Pompeo still towing the line and carrying the water for the neocon agenda. It sounds like, it's Iran. Yep. So, but it's definitely an escalation of things, and just
we're off into another one. We're off into another quagmire here. And you need to understand, Iran is not a helpless country the way that Iraq was. Iran has long-range surface-to-surface rockets which can hit U.S. bases in the area and even our carriers which are currently in the Gulf. Frankly, if I were head of the Navy, I'd be telling those carrier battle groups, why don't you just put a little more distance between your carrier battle group and the coast of Iran right now? Okay. All right. Thank you for the phone call, Philip. We're going to switch over to Chris in Las Vegas. Aloha, Chris. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Did we lose our sound feed? Chris in Las Vegas, are you there? Okay. Something is not right here. Mike, are you hearing me? Okay, looks like RBN just dropped off the air. We're still on YouTube. All right, so I can't take phone calls while I'm just on the YouTube feed, but let's see what happens if RBN comes back or not. All righty. Iran is getting ready to release the British flag tanker.
Firearms, or you have a concealed weapon permit, and a level of trading that surpasses what you...
Okay, so looks like we're back with RBN here. And so Iran is getting to release this British flag tanker, Rick Perry is out there wholeheartedly condemning the attack on Saudi Arabia. But again, everyone's jumping to conclusions. Yemen's Houthi rebels said, we did this. This is our handiwork here. And yet Pompeo and everybody saying, oh, it had to be Iran. Had to be, the Houthi rebels, they couldn't come up with this kind of technology. But I think it's entirely possible they could. Anyway, is Chris in Las Vegas still there? Chris, are you there? Okay, looks like we lost Chris. All righty, article that's coming.
There we go.
Chris, you there?
Yes, I am. I was there all along. They just didn't connect me yet, but glad to talk to you today, Michael. And I have a couple of observations. I'll fill in the blanks for your last caller, if you like, on the Tucson shooting, Gerald Lee Loughner. If you recall, he had the same substantial appearance at the Aurora, the Sandy Hook, and so on and so forth, other psychotropically drugged up scopolamine sheen eyes that I have observed repeatedly on these government provocateurs or handled individuals that are usually under some sort of so-called mental health care and on psychotropic drugs. And it becomes a tell that we can look for that gives us an insight that it's likely some government psychologist controlled handled individual that's carrying out these provocateur acts to cast the blame on whoever they want to frame the blame on, the real victim being set up to take the blame for these things, much like Iraq in this particular case. But the other thing, of course, that was John M.
Iran is being set up to take the blame.
Sure. But that was John M. Rolls, the judge. In fact, he was under indictment by Paul Andrew Mitchell. I was reading the indictment the day that came over the shooting, so I remember it very, very clearly. And it appears that she may have been shot and injured. Obviously, she had a gun injury to her head, so that's certainly pretty difficult to deny. But the real target for the hit by the handled individual, Gerald Lee Loughner, was in fact District Judge John M. Rolls. He was a federal judge down there. Now, going back to this so-called drone attack, I'm very, very close and have worked out at the secured areas of the Nevada test site. And Area 23 is Mercury, Nevada, which is very close to Indian Springs Creech Air Force Base, where they train drone operators, these AI-enhanced drone pilots, if you will. And they're able to carry out operations on the world over from that location. Maybe they have some relay stations that give them longer range or probably aerial support for this sort of thing. But it provides plausible deniability because if you remember, Obama says, can you spell predator drone and take somebody out on the spot from their IPS address on their cell phone, making a perfectly targeted transaction delivered precisely to a dime on any place on the earth from these drone weapons that they're using as weaponized systems, not mere surveillance instruments.
Yes. Well, the thing is, if the Houthis have developed drones, they don't need to be quite that sophisticated. I would suggest that probably they're not remotely piloted, that as a result, there weren't any electronic emissions that could have been detected to let people know they were on their way. I think it was just dead reckoning. They built the drones, they put a GPS in there, they put in the coordinates of these liquefied natural gas tanks and other facilities, and they just let them go.
Or perhaps like the Pentagon, they may have had a transponder with a homing beam for the missile, the Exocet, to home in and to destroy the Pentagon Communications Center for Naval Intel that was investigating the disappearance of the $2.3 trillion by Donald Rumsfeld.
Okay, well, that one's a little bit out there because the Exocet is an anti-ship missile. It's not an anti-building missile.
Correct, but you can use them for multiple different purposes. If you put the transponder to put a homing device on there, they'll home in on that where it is, and it was right in front of the communications and intelligence room of all the computers and stuff, right there in back of Naval Intel, which was inside, which was clearly taken out by a nice round hole through the wall as opposed to a plane with wings and so on and so forth doing damage to the
Okay,
Pentagon.
well, we've already had this discussion more times than I want to go through that. Nice little round hole everybody likes to point to was made by one of the potable water tanks from inside the aircraft. And again, if you look at the article I wrote on the pod people and the no plane theory, it's all laid out there, including photographs of the wreckage of the aircraft inside the ground floor of the Pentagon. So, Chris, thanks an awful lot for your phone call. We're going to switch over to shift over to Sherry in Kansas. And aloha, Sherry, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello. This is for your first caller about the Gabby Gifford shooting. I think one of the best reporters I've heard on this is a lady named Stephanie Sledge, and her publication is thegovernmentrag.com. And if you go to her site, you can, I'm sure she's got some stuff in the blog, but she's also written a book and even got the court records that you can have access to if you want to pay for it for 30 days.
Well, that did happen a while ago, and right now we certainly have more pressing news with the developments in Saudi Arabia and potentially Iran.
Well, he was wanting some, because Gabby Gifford is campaigning for someone in his area, and he wanted some more information on that. That's what I'm talking about. But Stephanie Sledge is she's a really good reporter, and anyway, I just wanted to let him know that. So,
all right. Well, thank you very much for the information. We're going to let you go and switch over to Rick in Arizona. Aloha, Rick. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
I was just thinking about what I said a while back on your show. I'm not worried about a war with Iran. I think that's totally out of the question. This is just to get the oil prices up. It's been sliding for so long. It's been hanging into that range where they don't really like it. They like that $100 stuff. We'll see how long the price of oil stays up. I guess if you want to think maybe Israel did it or whoever did it, I guess you have to take out who's benefiting from this. And as usual, it's going to be the distributors in the oil industry. It's the easiest way to get the price of oil up. And I guess one more thing before I go, if anybody's really interested anymore about the truth on 9/11, just go to YouTube and look up Ace Baker on the 9/11 PSYOPRA. He pretty much covers all the bases. And thanks for taking my call.
All right, you got it, Rick. Thank you for the call. We're going to switch over to Jim in Brooklyn. Aloha, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, how are you? Yeah, before I get started, I heard you mention the phrase before that somebody in the State Department was loaded for bar. Now,
yes.
The only other time I heard the word bear referred to as bar was way back when Disney popularized Davy Crockett in the 1950s. They had this song by Seth Parker, and he said Davy Crockett killed him a bar when he was only 3.
Yeah, I'm giving my age away here. I'm giving my age away here.
You heard it.
Oh,
yeah. You heard that there.
Yeah. So I always thought that said he was killed in a bar when he was only 3. Anyhow, I wanted to talk actually about something that's it's topical today, but it's not the Iran situation. It's this Gerald Nadler call for inquiries into impeachment, etc.
Yeah.
You heard about? I'm sure you heard about that. Now, there's something that I've been inquiring about, and if I could, I would launch an investigation or prompt people to. I can't do it myself because I'm visually impaired and I'm older. I can't really do these things so much. But Gerald Nadler, his congressional district is beyond gerrymandering. Do you know that he has one half of his district on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and the other half is totally separated by land and water in Brooklyn, New York?
Yes,
totally
I've seen the map.
Separated. You see the map? Hello, you said you've seen the map?
I've seen the map.
Yeah, so that is so weird. And so I found out that this districting, we just had this case, where is it, North Carolina, something like that, that's determined by the state legislature.
And so I actually tried calling the state attorney general and whom my state representative was in the state legislature. I didn't get too far between waiting and wrong phone numbers, etc.
Yeah.
But this is something I would try to contact other Congress people in Brooklyn and ask them why do they tolerate him infringing in their territory? Why can't a case be brought regarding that? It's totally weird, and it gives him this power that he's wielding now in such a terrible way.
Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to represent a district, and he effectively has two.
That's right, and one of them is not even his home territory. I mean, it's just he's not even relating to it. So I just wanted to throw that out there because, and I may try to get something done about it, in my own small way. Anyhow, have a good day.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and we're going to let you go here. And getting on back to the news here, article that came on out of finance at yahoo.com. The drone attack on the Saudi oil field seen as a Pearl Harbor moment. Boy, they are laying it on with a trowel for all of this stuff. And saying that for many of the national security teams that monitor threats on the U.S., the apparent drone strike Saturday on the heart of Saudi Arabia's oil production facilities was the realization of their worst fears. Now, apparently, their concern is the rapid evolution of technologies. And yeah, that is a big problem. These countries that don't like us because we have been very rude to them in the past, they're able to develop weapon systems, apparently a lot less expensive than those developed by the United States. So the situation right now is that Trump is now saying he's waiting for verification that Iran launched the drone strike against Saudi Arabia, at which point action will be taken, which I presume is going to be a monstrous cruise missile attack against Iran. And we're often running into another quagmire here. Over in Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu has effectively declared war on the two-state solution, and his plan, which he promises to implement if he is reelected, would annex between 30 to 40% of the West Bank, including all of the Jewish settlements in the blocks and isolated around Palestinian communities, and the entire Jordan Valley. And Netanyahu says he's going to negotiate with President Trump over this, but he's not going to negotiate with the Palestinians, who would never agree to this anyway. So Netanyahu is going to say, well, the President of the United States says we can do this, and that makes it okay here. So the deal of the century appears to have been a ploy. Annexation is the new reality. Turkey is out there saying that if Netanyahu goes through with this annexation plan, it will confirm that Israel is a racist apartheid regime. And yes, it absolutely would. All right, let's talk about the spying devices found around the White House, these stingrays. In April of 2018, AP reported that the Department of Homeland Security acknowledged it had detected unauthorized cellular phone surveillance devices operating in Washington, D.C. and around the White House. And these stingrays are designed to mimic cell phone towers. Essentially, when a stingray is activated, it forces nearby cellular traffic to go through it rather than through the official towers. So this allows the operator of the Stingray to know the exact location of a specific cell phone. With more advanced models, the device can force a phone to use older, unencrypted 2G wireless signals, allowing a third party to eavesdrop on calls and messages. Some can even attempt to install malicious software on the phone. Okay, we're going to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. So we're talking about these Stingray cell phone interceptors that were unauthorized by any U.S. government agency, and they were set up across Washington, D.C., and especially around the White House. And last week, Politico ran an article saying that the best guess was these were being used by Israel. Now, every president since Harry Truman has known about Israel's aggressive intelligence efforts, but not Trump. It doesn't bother Trump. The Israelis are spying on him. In fact, he believes it's not true, despite evidence to the contrary. So, anyway, let's take a phone call now from Peter in Los Angeles. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Well, we're in this position ready to go to war against Iran because of the manipulation of our and outright buying and purchasing of our entire Congress and our president by Israel and its minions in the United States. And so it was interesting. The gentleman said about Gerald Nadler's congressional district. Yeah, he's one of their key guys, and they're not going to let him go. And he's basically the controlled opposition against Trump from one side, along with Chuck Schumer, both of whom want to grab all our guns. Of course, they give all the guns to Israel, but that's all right. We're not allowed to have any. But see, with guys like Nadler calling for Trump's impeachment and Schumer and so on and so forth, that drives Trump more and more into the arms of Sheldon Adelson.
Yes.
And so they have us both ways. But here we are. Our foreign policy is there's no reason in the world why the United States, on any reasonable terms, would need to fight Iran. Iran has done nothing to us. But here we are, ready to go to war. There's no reason why, under normal circumstances, we would ever go into Syria. But there we are. We're in Syria.
We're already fighting 7 different wars that we know of.
Yeah.
And who knows how many.
There's no reason why we would have gone there, you know.
And, we've got all these kids in uniform who are being killed and crippled basically for corporate interests.
Yeah, and I would tell you that if it was just corporate interests, that would be bad enough. But it's not just corporate; it's Israel's interests, and we're being sold out by our own people in the United States, by the Israeli lobby, who allows this to happen, who funnels the money to all the congressmen, and we've been spied at. You know, and I know they have all the intercepts of all the NSA and the CIA and everything else. They have all the intercepts, the raw, unedited intercepts. They've got moles everywhere. They've got MAGA. They've got Epstein.
Wow.
Dianne Feinstein was head of the Intelligence Committee. She's a complete, sellout to Israel. Her husband was on the Board of Regents in California that got California, the University of California system, to say that any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic and thus a hate crime and is disallowed on any UC campus.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's just the way it is. We got Nadler, we got Schumer, we got the Stingrays, we got Epstein, we got Adelson, we got all these guys, and we got all these wars going on. None of it for our benefit. And all the money that it costs to keep up the defense establishment that is required for them to use against these countries that we shouldn't be fighting. It's unbelievably expensive, and
yes.
In the end, it's going to put us at war with the Russians and the Chinese, and we can't even afford a war with Iran, frankly. But there you go. It is what it is, Mike. But we got to come up to and say that these guys need to be dealt with. We cannot have this situation going on. It will kill us all.
Well, if we go to war with Iran, we could easily find ourselves in direct conflict with Russia, because Russia and Iran have pledged to support each other militarily. And it's, Russia has to understand, do they want to fight the United States in the streets of Moscow, or do they want to fight them a little further from home? And so, yeah, this could end up being really, really bad.
If this happens, Mike, you're absolutely right. You're going to see Russia and China come to the defense of Iran. Iran, by the way, can take care of itself pretty well, short of nuclear weapons, against the United States in that area conventionally. But you have Russia and China, but by the way, China has a land border with Iran. And
yes.
Russia, the old Soviet Union, did have a land border, but they're close enough as well. It's a straight
yes.
shot for an air corridor. And it's the same thing. You're going to have Russian and Chinese big time diplomatic and maybe even military power in the Persian Gulf directly, land power. And it's changing everything. The whole dynamics of the world and pushing these guys into fighting, because you're right, Iran is the perfect place for them to stand up to the United States. So,
well, not from the point of view of the Iranians, I'm sure about that, because of what has happened to every one of these other countries the United States has gone into to bring them democracy, and they just wind up trashing the place here. And, you know, Israel's already come on out and said that they're blaming a former Obama advisor for the rumor that they're behind the stingrays, and repeating the statement that Israel does not spy on the United States, forgetting that the largest foreign spy ring ever uncovered in the United States was discovered just before 9/11, spying on the United States for Israel.
another thing you guys might want to out in the audience, because I know Mike can elaborate on this, is a couple of years ago when the AIPAC spy scandal happened,
yes,
the Israelis went to the head to Jane Harman, who was one of Venice, California congresswoman, Jewish. I think her husband owned, at least did own, Newsweek. There's another influence organization there. But at any rate, and said, listen, if you kill this investigation, she said to Harman, a member of the Intelligence Committee, we'll make you the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Like they could just pick him. And you know what? They could just pick him.
Yep.
Because Harman knows what's going on, and she went along with it. But it happened to the FBI or CIA or somebody intercepted the conversations where they were making this offer and made it impossible for Obama to name Harman as the head of the Intelligence Committee. But ordinarily, they can just pick and see whoever they want and make him the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. I mean, they have us wired.
They are the kingmakers. They are the kingmakers.
They'll blackmail you. If they can't blackmail you, they'll kill you. They use our own aid, wash it back into the United States, and get through the fifth columnists in the United States through political donations, who then get more aid. So
it's a kickback scheme. We are. It's a gigantic kickback scheme.
And here we are, and you know we're owned by these guys. And if you guys get used to it, learn Yiddish, because they own us. If we don't do something about it, already we're fighting their wars and bearing their tax burdens. And by the way, the Americans pay more of the Israeli defense budget, you and I, taxpayers, than do the Israelis.
Yes,
we pay a higher percentage of it. A lot of people don't know that. So, they have us locked and cocked, and literally they have us, and they will do whatever they say. So if Trump feels like we'll go to war, which he will, because, what's his name, Jared Kushner and Sheldon Adelson and all these other guys are speaking and waving money at him and everything else. And his daughter, who converted, he'll go. He'll go. He's just that stupid and just that bought.
Well, for Trump to come out with that ridiculous statement that he doesn't care if Israel's spying on him and he doesn't think it's true anyway, they definitely have got something on him. And maybe the rumors that he was involved with Jeff Epstein's Pedo Island are true, and they've got him on videotape with an underage girl or something, because he's totally controlled at this point. Anyway, listen, Peter, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to let you go and switch over to Al in Canada. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I hope Peter doesn't mind, but I'd like to correct something he said. He said this was being done by our own people, meaning Americans. About 20% of all the Congress people and senators are dual citizens.
Yes.
So, and then you look at who runs the media, who runs the banking, who runs Hollywood, who runs all of these social media companies. There you go.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's a shame. It is. It's a shame. It's heartbreaking, and it's happening up here in Canada too, Mike. There was that guy out in BC, or I think it was BC, who was tattled on by the Brene Brith because of what he was saying online, which was actually true. I can't think of his name right now, but You know, I mean, this goes on in a lot of other countries as well. So, you know, how do you stop it? You can spread the word, but other than that, I mean, people are afraid. Like literally
Yeah,
afraid.
I can understand that. Well, you know, when Eretz Israel says that Israel is supposed to spread from the Nile to the Euphrates, they meant both directions.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And they don't have an extradition treaty in that country. I mean, a few others don't as well, but still, like you said, I mean, Jeffrey Epstein's probably over. I'm completely convinced, Mike, that what was going on down on that island was exactly what you said. It was a honey trap.
Yep.
And it lured a lot of these people with a lot of power down there, and it was designed to control them.
What I can't understand is how somebody in such a position of power would let themselves get in that position to begin with, knowing that they're probably going to be recorded.
You know, Mike, I don't really think that some of the people running these things, you know, like Jeff Bezos and people like that, I don't think they're geniuses. I really don't. Like Bill Gates, I don't think Bill Gates is a genius. I think he bought DOS and he stole the idea of Windows from Apple.
Yes,
that's what I think.
No, he stole it from Xerox PARC.
Oh, okay. So,
well,
did you have an article on that at all?
Let's be technically correct. Xerox PARC messed up by not patenting the Windows concept. And so both IBM and Apple felt free to go ahead and use that technology.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I thought it was Apple. So thanks a lot, you know, for correcting me on that one.
Probably the biggest mistake Xerox ever made is they had invested all this money in the Palo Alto Research Center, and they had developed all this new technology, including the mouse. The concept of the mouse came from Xerox PARC. And then they just said, yeah, it's a waste of money. And they just shut it all down. They didn't patent any of the stuff. And of course, it was a great gift for the rest of the world computer users, but it was a horrifyingly bad business decision.
Obviously. It's funny you should mention mouse. I've been having a lot of trouble with my mouse. But and it's
Are you on Windows 10?
Yeah, you know, Windows 10 is like 98. You got to reboot, right?
Yeah, I have to reboot a lot.
Yeah, it's just like Windows 98. Like my mouse, well, the scroll on it will stop working intermittently.
Yep.
You know, and then I reboot, and then it's fine. And I think it's Logitech, but it's not. It's Microsoft. They're awful. And I heard they just broke their search. On. I don't get updates, but
yeah, the last update broke. Well, it was supposed to spike, you know, stop the CPU from being overloaded, and it broke the desktop search. Now they fixed that one, but the fix for the desktop search has broken the audio on a lot of Windows 10 machines. I mean, this is the worst operating system Microsoft has put out since Millennium Edition.
I never even bothered with that one. But I know, like the first or second time I had Windows updates, like almost a year ago, it bricked my machine.
Yeah.
And it took, you know, and it took me like an hour and a half to get it back. And I just shut off updates, and that was a horror show in itself.
Yeah.
Holy. So anyway. So getting back to the Israel thing, you know, Trump's father was big with Israel.
Yes.
As well.
Oh, personal friends with Netanyahu.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I mean, it's starting to look like he's not. This Russian hoax was really, really a hoax because he's actually working for Israel.
Yes.
I don't really believe that, but it seems that way, doesn't it?
Uh-huh. Okay, well, Trump is on the TV right now making remarks about the attack on the refinery, and he is saying they want to know exactly what did happen before they take action. So maybe there'll be some common sense coming in. Again, there's that report from Middle Eastern Eye that the attack actually came from Iraq. So what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Invade Iraq for what? The fourth time?
Yeah. Now, did you actually see the damage?
Yes, I did.
It didn't really look that vast, did it?
Well, it depends on where you hit within the. I mean, that's like the world's largest refinery that got hit, and they did breach a couple of liquefied natural gas tanks, and that set off a major fire. But yeah, they're saying it's going to be weeks before they can get that place repaired and get oil production back up.
Yeah, so I mean, this was not catastrophic.
Okay, we got to take a break for commercials. Thank you very much for the phone call, and we will be right back.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Republic Broadcasting Network depends on listener support of our advertisers and of our sponsors. We'd like to especially thank all of you who have taken advantage of our fundraiser with FrontSight Bonus. Those who are now FrontSight members, please train as soon as possible for your sake and for that of our nation. And please consider sharing your training and what you've learned when you arrive home. Republic Broadcasting Network has to stop promoting this fundraiser on air and on the website in just a few days. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, president of FrontSight, made a gracious exception to his no media rule for us at Republic Broadcasting Network. Thank you, Dr. Piazza. And once you've been to FrontSight, feel free to call your favorite host and share your experience on the air. We can continue this fundraiser without media help, but it'll be totally up to the listeners to spread the information. Please call Dan Sutterfield in Missouri at 573-465-2356, 573-465-2356. That's 573-465-2356.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations. A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And it looks like Trump is about to do a flip-flop on Turkey and the Russian S-400 air defense systems, because now Trump is saying that it's not fair to either Turkey or the United States that Washington cannot sell Ankara billions of dollars worth of F-35 fighter jets after it bought a Russian air defense system. Now, Turkey started taking delivery of Russia's S-400 air defense system last week in defiance of U.S. warnings that doing so would mean the Pentagon would kick it out of the F-35 stealth fighter program and that it would be subject to sanctions. Washington's concern is that deploying the S-400 with the F-35 would allow Russia to gain too much inside information of the stealth system. But it looks like Trump is out there saying, it's not fair. It's just not fair. It's not fair. And that the sale will go through because, after all, a sale is a sale is a sale, and it's all about the money. Okay, over in Hong Kong, the protests are still continuing. They're very huge. There have been Molotov cocktails, tear gas, rubber bullets, and Xi Jinping came out with a speech implying that they're getting ready to handle the Hong Kong protests, and basically it sounds like Xi Jinping is getting ready to send in the military to just put it all down. And again, China is insisting that this is a put-up job by the United States, that it's not an organic grassroots protest, that it's another one of these regime change programs going on underway. Over in Pakistan, Imran Khan is sending an ominous warning that he's willing to use nuclear weapons on India if Pakistan starts losing a conventional war. So that thing could spiral completely out of control. And I imagine that India will have pretty much the same attitude. Now, the White House has reportedly received a letter from North Korea's Kim Jong-un inviting President Trump to visit Pyongyang, which could be the first overture before the potential fourth official visit. And the White House and the State Department did not immediately respond to Reuters to confirm the report in South Korea's Jungang Ilbo newspaper. The letter reportedly predated the country's last short-range missile launch from a week ago. And the recent White House shakeup could have implications on these discussions. All righty, so let's talk about Charles Kupperman. Apparently, he is the incoming National Security Advisor. Was supposed to be interim, but I guess they're going to make it permanent. Back in the 1980s, he was out there selling this idea that nuclear war with the Soviet Union was winnable, and basically said that that you just need to put dirt over the top of your home and that you could basically survive the nuclear attack. All right, we're going to take a break for station identification. We'll be right back.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth. What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And here we go again. All of the 2020 Democratic candidates are calling for the impeachment of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. And this was all based on a piece published in the New York Times detailing a new sexual misconduct allegation against him. Now, this is from like 35 years ago, 1980s. And the New York Times has already got egg all over their face. They were forced to revise the story because the accuser says she has no memory of being assaulted at this dorm party. She refused to be interviewed, and other people who were at that dorm party said it would have been impossible for Kavanaugh to have assaulted her. There was no private place where he could go. And I'm reading this and saying that the prognosis for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg must be pretty dire, because the liberals are in a panic that the Supreme Court is going to swing even more conservative if Trump gets to appoint another justice to the bench. And of course, whoever he nominates, 40 years ago, he tore tags off his couch cushions. He tap danced barefoot on shag carpeting and did all these really horrible, horrible things. So Trump has fired back at the New York Times and suggests Kavanaugh should sue, and Kavanaugh should sue. It's clearly defamatory. And it's not really news reporting. It was rumor mongering. They had an anonymous source who said, oh, yes, this happened. And the accuser says, I don't remember that it happened. Kavanaugh should sue. Just take the New York Times, take everything they've got, put in new management. I'm available, Brett. All righty, we're going to go back to the phones here. Joe in Tennessee, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, quickly on Kavanaugh, the problem with suing is they can do discovery, and you never know where that goes, because you got to really open up your life. Kavanaugh might not want to do that. Not that I say that he's done anything wrong. It's just civil suits are different, and they can bring up all kinds of different stuff. Although I think he's a good guy, and I don't think any of the stories are true. They have a tendency to find something that's embarrassing or whatever. And
well,
at the same time, it's pretty hard to.
Legally, the New York Times would have to prove this allegation is true to avoid a defamation ruling.
Well, I think he should. I don't know. It's one of those things. I think he's probably just better to just be the Supreme Court justice and stay focused on that. I mean, to me, the left is going to completely. It's going to just be another resurrection of their huge loss the first time around. I mean, if they want to do this again, they're just going to. That whole Kavanaugh fiasco was a godsend to the Republicans at the time, and it'll be great. It'll get everybody stirred up for the elections. If they want to go back to that, that's okay, But the one thing, like I said, about lawsuits, but this whole Iran bomb in Saudi Arabia stuff they're trying to push. I looked at those pictures where they had the pictures of the damage to those those tanks and everything. And man, you can't tell me a bunch of Houthi rebels did that. No, with drones. they were like very symmetrical. I mean, that is very precision guided missiles that were used, and I don't buy it. I think that this is a false flag. I think, with Bolton freaking leaving, and the neocons getting together, this is, I don't think Trump's going to fall for it. I'll be surprised if he bombs Iran on this. And
well,
I got to tell you,
I
if you
hope
look
you're
at those
right.
pictures,
I think it would be a big mistake to go to war with Iran. But again, Trump is not calling the shots here. They're being called for him.
well, he definitely will have to call the shots to give it the okay. But I think that I'm hoping, and one of my dreams is that the people that really did this, the Russians, there's a lot of people that can intercept, different telemetry and all that from these cruise missiles and tracking and all that. I'm hoping some of these people, the white hats, so to say, will put some files on the president's desk if this was a false flag, which I believe, and wake up to Trump to the fact that you can't go to war over another lie. I mean, he's always been the one that criticizes Iraq as a huge disaster. He says that a lot.
Yes.
And I think he knows, and he has said that Iraq was started by a lie. So I think that he's kind of, if he does bomb Iran without like some real hardcore proof, he's going to look like a complete hypocrite and fool. And I think he's smarter than that. And I don't think we're going to go to war with Iran on this. And like I said, if you look at those satellite imagery of the damage done, I mean, there's like 4 of these stabilizing tanks like in a row.
Yeah.
Like put in the same spot on all 4. I mean, the precision you can't tell me a bunch of Houthi rebels. The Saudis might have done this to themselves for all we know, or the Americans, or a faction of the neocons, the deep state, whatever. I'm just not buying the story that we're being told. And the other thing is, if Iran did do this, they have some pretty damn good equipment.
Yeah,
so
they really do. But again, why? Why would Iran have done this? It just doesn't make any sense. Iran is trying to avoid war. And, yeah.
Who gains? What, Quay Bono, is it? I mean, and at this time, too, like you said, I mean, there is a reapproach. That's why Bolton got fired, because Trump wants to kind of, he does a lot of stuff on the side with secret meetings and sending out signals. And, the Iranians are doing the same thing. It's like haggling. You got to act tough, but at the same time, behind the scenes, a lot of good things were probably happening. And the Bolton faction, together with deep state Saudis or Turks or the Israelis, that they got together maybe and said, let's pull another false flag on the world and get what we want, which is perpetual war.
Well, certainly war on Iran. I mean, Israel's been pushing that agenda for years and years and years and years.
But I'll tell you, and I have a brother that says the same thing. I'll support Trump as long as he doesn't get us into wars. And I've been a big defender of the president. You know me. I call him a lot here.
Yes.
But if he starts a war with Iran, I won't be calling him up to defend him anymore. That'll be it. So, that's it's a matter of principle. You don't just go around starting wars, especially he spent a lot of time criticizing everybody else, Bush's with Iraq and Libya and all that, and he's right to do so, but you can't just let yourself be duped for whatever reason. He must know better. And that's why I don't think we're going to have a war with Iran. I really don't. I think this is going to, I think he'd be a total fool to do so, and he probably knows that he's being fed a bunch of bullshit.
Well, he may know it, but that may not constrain him not to act if, everybody around him is saying it's time for the war with Iran, because, again, it's been on the U.S. agenda and Israel's agenda for a lot of years. And, Trump was obviously trying to kick off a conflict with Iran when he pulled out of the P5+1 nuclear agreement. That's really what kicked off the current escalations.
Well, I think that there is a possibility that you might see a tit for tat and a controlled tit for tat. And I say that because I had read an article that said what the Iranians said they would do if they are attacked. And what they said they would do would be very limited. And from what I read, it wasn't like launch all missiles and end of the world, shut down Straits of Hormuz. So there's a possibility that it could be like what Trump did in Syria when he sent those cruise missiles in to look tough.
I think that's the most likely scenario. Going to look tough, but in the end, not really blow up all that much.
Yeah, the peace talks going on in the back room. So that's very possible, because I don't buy this whole thing. I don't. There's a lot of people that gain by this. I'd like to look at some of the people that bought stocks and short whatever on oil futures. Right before this, that'd be something to look into.
I agree.
I want to find some culprits. But anyway, I'll let you go, Mike. Thank you for taking my call. And
all right, thank you, Joe. We're going to let you go and switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. Yeah, Joe's right. Like, if you look at the pictures, I mean, if you look at the facility itself, these were precision strikes. So, I mean, the Houthis, I doubt really they have the capability. They might have ballistic missiles that can just fly and hit in a certain area, but not this per se area precisionally. So it's got to be another actor out there. But did you notice what Putin said? He said, and Mike, by the way, where was the Patriot missile version 3 system? Like, what?
Pointing the wrong way, as I understand it.
Well, Putin, I watched that in Ankara,
yes,
the Astana, and at the end, like when he's at the end of his talk, he says maybe they should look into buying the S-300 or the S-400 system, and everybody laughed. Like Rouhani laughed, Erdogan laughed, because they already bought the stuff, and so did India.
Yeah.
But it tells you something. But doesn't it tell you something? Where was the air defenses? The Saudi Arabia buys a lot of hundreds of billions of dollars worth of weaponry. Where were they? Were they shut off? I mean, I don't know if it was a false flag, but I really doubt the Houthi rebels have that kind of capability. Anybody can buy a drone, but do they have the capability to have a drone? I mean, it's not a far flight from Yemen because it's right next door, but to have that capability of that strategic hit, you got to look at it that way. And
well, we don't know, but Yemen has been at war with Saudi Arabia for a number of years now, and I have to imagine that somewhere in the industrial parks, they have been working on developing more capable weapons and precision weapons. What I can't understand is if Yemen had nothing to do with it, why they would take credit for it.
Well, who said they took credit for it? Like I'm like curious. Did the Houthi Twitter account come out? You know what I mean? Like who says this? Like this person took credit for like Bin Laden and 9/11. You know what I mean? Like where does this information come from?
Well, it's been quoted in several of the news articles that we've linked to, and I don't know the original source for it all. But again, if this is a false flag, why start out by saying the Houthis are taking credit for it instead of just going on in and saying, well, this was all Iran's work? So
because they already put out, they already put out throughout the Yemen war that it's Iran's proxy army.
Yes.
That's the whole. And Mike, you know what? If the Houthis really want to take Saudi Arabia down to zero, hit their desalinization plants. You want to see how quick that country drops?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that would be a great target. But again, the Yemen military are warning foreigners to get away from those oil facilities because they're saying there are probably going to be more attacks.
And on that Aramco IP, wasn't this the second time they were trying to do the? They said the IPs were too. Yeah.
Well, the first one was killed by dropping oil prices, and so this is try number 2, and obviously it's in Aramco's interest for oil prices to be driven up, but everybody looking at this understands it's only going to be short term, and then you're going to have the United States, which is pouring oil onto the world market from shale, is going to drive the prices back down. Now, Saudi Arabia needs that oil to sell for $80 a barrel to balance their budget. And the United States has been flooding the world with oil to keep the price down to about $50 to $60 a barrel. And this has got to be angering Saudi Arabia because it's forced them into issuing government debt. I mean, they used to be awash in cash. They had all this money, and now it's pretty much all gone.
They're a deadbeat nation like us. They're a welfare state like us.
Yep.
And then you know what, Mike? With Aramco, who would want to invest in them after this? If a bunch of Houthi rebels, so-called, can knock out this, who would want to invest anything in their IP? That's another thing.
Their IPO.
Yeah, IPO. Who would want to invest if a bunch of Houthi rebels in Yemen can knock out? Point. That's it. And Mike, what happened to the Saudi Arabian city of the future with the AI girl robot? That totally disappeared off the face of the earth too. That country's in trouble.
Yes.
And remember,
name me one country on this planet that's not in trouble right now.
Yeah, but Mike, as bad as we got the neoliberals, we don't have those Wahhabi sects sitting in our country. That's the head choppers. The Wahhabi. Let me tell you, if the Wahhabis decide to get rid of like this, the King Salman, the family, they can do it. They got the numbers, right? So there's like what do they call it? Allegiance of convenience, what they call it, right?
Yes.
Basically. Yeah. That's all I got to tell you, Mike. Have a good show.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Mark in North Carolina. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, Saudi Arabia. Iran. What just happened? I don't think it was the Iranians. But to be honest with you, I really don't care if it was the Iranians. We need to get the heck out of there. There's no reason for the United States to be involved in the Middle East anymore. All it is a bunch of bad actors. Anybody is suspect in this, including our own government, the Israelis, the Saudis themselves. This is, the place is a disaster waiting to happen.
Yes.
And a disaster is a horrible war. And we need to get out. I'm concerned about Trump because the man just doesn't seem to be too bright. And you know what? When we talk about Bolton was a psychopath, evil, rotten psychopath. But I'm also very concerned about Pompeo. In some ways, he's even more dangerous because Pompeo is a religious fanatic. He's the worst type of religious. He believes in he's a Christian Zionist, end time, rapture believing idiot who actually thinks that pretty much we got to destroy the planet. I guess turn it into radioactive waste in order for Jesus Christ to come and sit on the throne in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Now, anybody believing that, as far as I'm concerned, is out there. Okay. But unfortunately, a lot of people do believe it, Mike. And this clown does, and I believe Mike Pence believes it also. And on top of that, Kushner, he's got this other crazy Talmudic, what do you call it? What's that called? The Zohar, something like that. I don't know. Some crazy, witchcraft believing part of Judaism, Kabbalah.
Yes, Kabbalah. That was
and
it.
He believes in that. Okay, which also has some crazy end time nonsense. And that rabbi, I think his name is Schmierson, that he comes back and reigns over a third temple or something. These people are nuts. And Trump is not smart enough to know what he's doing with them. He's letting them to manipulate him, and anything could happen at this point. That's what concerns me, Mike. I don't know about you, but when you're dealing with religious fanatics, you got if you really look at the three major religions, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, or Islam, most of it is pretty good. Most of it actually is pretty good. Okay, but there are fanatics within both. There's offshoots of all of these religions, and we're seeing it now in more with Christianity and Judaism in this case than even with Islam, because I think the Iranians are fairly rational. Okay, they run a country. Okay, it's a theocracy to a degree, but they allow other religions to flourish there at the same time, including Judaism and Christianity. So
one of the world's oldest continuously operating synagogues is in Iran.
Yeah. I mean, and I understand Netanyahu wanted to. I heard this from you at first, and I looked it up, and sure enough, Netanyahu wanted the Jews of Iran to come, to move to Israel, and they said, no, we don't want to do that. We're very happy here in Iran. So, I mean,
all right, well,
how bad
listen,
can the country
Mark, we got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington, too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. But I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the seven seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're going to go back to the phones to Jim in Illinois. Aloha, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. Regarding the drone strike in Saudi Arabia, I don't think Iran was behind that. And this is why. For the past several months, they have been meeting privately with the French government and also with the EU members, some of the EU members. So why would they want to jeopardize those meetings talking about trading again and attack Saudi Arabia? That would be very stupid. And also keep in mind the foreign minister of Iran, he did attend the G7 meeting. So, I think America and some other countries, they don't want Iran to trade with anyone, especially members of the EU or France.
Yeah, that's a good theory. It's a very, very good theory.
And finally, regarding these Democrats, do you really think they want to win the White House?
I think they desperately want to win the White House in both houses of Congress. They're not going about it very smart, but that's what they want.
Because I've been reading where a lot of people, they are really being turned off by these Democrats. I mean,
yes.
I think they're flaky, and I don't see any strong person there. And I know people are not happy with Trump, but the Democrats, they're just as bad as Trump.
Yeah, the polls are showing that the public's love with the Democrats that we saw supposedly in the 2018 midterms has definitely waned. And it's because you've got people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez out there. And now, of course, you got Beto O'Rourke on his gun grab. That's turning off a lot of people. And I'm sure the Democrats want to win the White House and both houses of Congress. But outside of registering all the illegal immigrants to vote, they really don't know how to do it.
I would agree with you. Well, Michael, I'm going to let you go on that note. You take care.
All right, thanks an awful lot. And we're going to switch over to Mo in Florida. Aloha, Mo. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. Even though you're Indiana, I still like saying it. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I actually got a lot of emails from our listeners who were in Hawaii, more than I realized that we had. And they said, keep the aloha. So that's what we're going to do.
I was there once. It's been many years ago, but when I see you, I think of Hawaii, which is a good thing.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, it's a good thing, But I mean, Indiana's good too. You got the Tippecanoe River and all that, and I don't know. I never been on it, but I heard it's beautiful. But anyways, you got the best callers in the world. I think that I called before and mentioned I campaigned for Ron Paul a couple of times. I'll never forget. I don't know if you remember in 2012 when Ron Paul was doing really good in the polls. They interviewed Donald Trump, and he just kind of laughed and hung his head and said he's got no chance. And I always thought that was weird because it's like he knew, even though they were trying to stop Ron Paul. But I always thought that Donald Trump knew that they're not going to let anybody in that position that they don't have a file on, and that's what I think it's really about. Like you mentioned, and a lot of people, suspect that he was close with Epstein. His family's married into the whole, Chabad, Lubavitch, the crazy part of the Jewish people that are going to, I think, going to just drag all. I think it's very dangerous what they're doing. They want war with Iran. And I think they think they're going to get it. I mean, I don't mean to keep rambling on here, but I can't believe that, we're 18 years from 9/11 and there's people still don't know what Building 7 is. This new study came out from the Alaska University, and I mean you walk down the street and ask 10 people, do you know what Building 7 World Trade Center? They don't know what you're talking about. So they got away with this, Mike. Other than your callers, well, of course they could go to war with Iran because people are still asleep. I hope they're waking up. Shows like you are doing it. That's why I know you're doing it. And there's other shows. You're one of the best because you tell it like it is, and you kind of tread the needle there a little bit because I know you don't want to get shut down. But what do you think? I mean, don't you? I think they think they're going to go to war with Iran. To heck with it. What are you going to do about it?
Well, there's definitely the neocons are pushing for it. Pompeo is pushing for it. Netanyahu's pushing for it. In fact, we might see the attack happen before the Israeli elections so that Netanyahu can campaign on that.
Yeah, the Goyim know, but so what? If we can pull mine, if we can blow Kennedy's head off, if we can do the USS Liberty, like you've reiterated many of those past crimes, the King David Hotel. I'm not just, no, it's not the Jewish people. It's the Zionist, Chabad, Lubavitch, radical Likud party that is going to probably get Israel destroyed. And the good people,
well, it's
wake up,
interesting.
get rid of this guy.
Gilad Atzmon actually wrote an article the other day saying that he thinks Israel will be gone in less than 10 years. Anyway, listen, we got to let you go, Mo. We got to take a break for commercials,
Thanks,
and we'll
Mike.
be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, keep it today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs, memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking about Brett Kavanaugh and the New York Times' latest embarrassment, where they basically had to pull back on the article and say, well, there's a report that Kavanaugh assaulted this woman, but she can't remember that it ever happened, and she refuses to be interviewed. And Trump is right. Kavanaugh ought to sue the New York Times for defamation. And there's another factor that gets overlooked in all of these Me Too allegations. There is supposed to be a presumption of innocence. When somebody comes out and says, j'accuse, stole my tricycle 40 years ago. Okay, prove it. Because in the absence of proof beyond a reasonable doubt, one must be found innocent of wrongdoing. All right, let's go back to the phones. Tom in Florida. Aloha, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Good day, Michael. Good day. Aloha. Yeah, Michael, I was wondering, did you see the report on Breitbart or Drudge today about the shootings in Chicago over the weekend?
No, I didn't, but I assume that there were a lot of them.
Yeah, there was 25 shot, 9 dead, but the statistics I want to give you real quickly are in Chicago from August 1st till currently right now, which is 47 days.
Yeah.
There's been over 268 shootings in that city. I counted them out.
Thank
Michael.
goodness they've got strict gun laws.
Yes, and the death rate is stands at 78 murdered, 78 dead since August 1st till currently right now. 78. That's not a count. See, I don't even tell you the truth on the statistics. The people they say are shot, they never talk about how many of those people actually die or gravely wounded. So it's like, okay, you know how many, they tell you what the report is on Breitbart and Drudge, how many are murdered, but they don't tell you the ones that are wounded, how long they got or what's going to happen with that situation. But yeah, Michael, listen, what's going on, and this is a proven fact that everybody in your audience I know will listen to. If we got rid of all 10 Democratic-run cities that are run by Democrats, the United States would probably be the safest country in the world to live in, next to Switzerland.
I think
that was
so.
on the radio show. I heard. What's that?
I said I think so. I agree with you.
Yes, we'd have the safest country probably in the United States. But the way currently things are going with these one Democrat, liberal, communist Bolsheviks, it's not going to change. It's only going to get worse. And, every time I call your show, Michael, I will bring it to your attention that once they flip the state of Texas blue, it's over for this government. Yes. It's over. You're looking at anarchy. You're looking at total chaos. The government will make you dependent upon them, and it'll be chaos. And like you're talking about, I think that's a false flag. I don't think Iran's the one to attack Saudi Arabia. It's probably Iran. That discombobulation. But this crap, Michael, what this they talk about these two white guys in Texas doing the shootings and this racist and this and crap and the poor babies. And Michael, this has got to come to a screeching halt because every week, and Chicago's only one city. I listened to Revolt. He was talking about St. Louis. They have more higher crime than Chicago. I'm like, what? I don't know if I believe that, but I guess St. Louis is off the chain. Baltimore. Yes. All these cities are absolutely crime-infested murder capitals. I mean, it's unreal. And according to Beto, I seen something on Beto today. I think that was on One American News. Beto said there was 44,000 Americans murdered last year. Well, that wasn't Beto. That wasn't because of white nationalism, Beto. You idiot.
Yep.
And, that guy goes around, he should go run for president of Mexico. I think Beto O'Rourke should actually try to become a president of Mexico and make Mexico have the official language of English as their English language. They should adopt the English language in Mexico. They'd probably do better off and make Beto the president. What do you think?
Well, I don't think the Mexicans would actually vote for him. He's actually done a great deal of damage to the Democratic Party right now with his comments. About and apparently over the weekend he concocted this story that people are saying no, this just feels fake.
Yes. Well, Michael, one more bit of good information I'm going to pass on to you is I called a few offices and I currently talked to a few people and the Republicans are getting ready to write a strict sanctuary city bill that you come here and you live in a sanctuary city, the people will going to start getting, these mayors and these commissioners all will be arrested. They're getting ready to pop out a bill pretty soon here. I believe in November you're going to see that bill. And of course it's going to probably get shot down by the Democrats, but that's a good thing because that's going to expose to the voting populace what the Democrats' modus of operandi is to literally flood this country with illegal aliens, have them vote, swing these states. And you know what, Michael? It's going to lead to all out. It's going to lead to the Turner Diaries.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to lead to. Because
a lot of people are very concerned about a potential civil war.
You got that one kook lady that you came from Hawaii, Hirono. That lady's
Yes.
a real kook job. That broad there, that's another whack job, that one. Oh, my goodness. But, you know, Michael, these Democrats, the crap they're trying to pull and the hoodwinking they're trying to do to the American public is disgraceful. And you know what? I still don't know why Trump doesn't get a hold like 5 or 7 or whoever and start buying up one of those major networks on primetime like ABC or CBS. Buy one of those networks up, and then you see what happens. Because that little OAN's doing a lot of damage in itself.
Yes.
Every hour and the hour, they're showing those immigration figures. And let me tell you, the people who tune into that network, they're going, what? What the heck is this? So, yeah, I think things are going to really shake up in November. And if this bill gets on the, you know, even if they get into a committee with this sanctuary city bill, then you're going to see the chickens come home to roost. And one more thing, Michael, I'll let you go. This guy, Mitt Romney, is a piece of crap. That guy, Romney, is the biggest, phoniest joke there has ever been as a politician. And I see this guy stabbing Trump every second he's got to stab that man in the back. And this guy wouldn't even pay for it. He could have won the election if you'd have bought that picture of Obama and Farrakhan. You tell me if that wasn't a deep state maneuver. And as far as that, I want to throw a little shout out, say hello to Dustin. Dustin, I hope you maybe think one day to move down to Florida or maybe even out to go to Texas. I think you'd be much better off, much happier than being in that cold weather and paying all those crazy insurances and taxes that you're paying to live there. It's insane to live there. I talked to a friend of mine in New York, White Plains, New York, and he told me he's getting out of here. He can't take it anymore. New York's off the chain with taxes, Michael. It's just too much.
Well, you know, that's a big reason we moved from Hawaii to Indiana. Hawaii just got too expensive. Prices are still going up. And we're not the only ones. Hawaii is going through a period where a lot of people are leaving the state because it is simply too expensive. And you've got all these Democrats running around talking gun control and taking away the cars and mass transportation. And right now there's apparently a federal investigation going on into that light rail system that they built across the south of the island, because it's billions over budget, years behind schedule. They've been fighting an audit, and now the feds have come on in and said there's clearly corruption going on here.
Right. Michael, one more thing and I'll let you go. Michael, this Ocasio-Cortez and all these Democrats, Biden and all them, they talk about the Green New Deal. Michael, there's 7 million illegals in California. They stopped building that train. They were going to, the bullets thing when they had it. You remember they stopped it when Newsom, the Trump's pulled all the money. What are these 7 million illegal males, and they're going to have kids? What are they going to do? They all need cars. So you talk about hypocrisy and hypocrites. These Democrats are going, Michael, this thing, how many millions of illegals are going to have cars just to get around?
Yes.
The gas prices, there won't be enough oil and gas and natural gas to even take care of these illegals. I mean, and these hypocrite Democrats keep saying, oh, we got to put the poor babies are in cages. Michael, none of these people had cars or transportation in their own country. They're coming here and they all have to have transportation to survive in the United States. You talk about a hypocrisy with that Ocasio-Cortez and that oh my God, that Hirono and the other those other Arab broads. It's amazing.
Yes.
They're all coming here, and you know what? You cannot live in the United States without transportation, cars, oil, gas, food, toilet paper. What stinking hypocrites? Water, fresh water. Michael, it's a disaster what these Democrats are getting away with. And you know what? The media's complacent. And the media one day is going to see their cities in flames if they don't stop their nonsense and get behind about immigration. Eisenhower did it. He got rid of 2 million illegals in a 3-year period in the 50s. Trump could get rid of 20 million and probably a 2-year period if he really wanted to. We got a lot better transportation system as far as jets and everything than we did back then. And Eisenhower did it.
Eisenhower did it. Would take buses, and the problem is we don't need another bill from Congress about the sanctuary cities. They're already in violation of Title VIII. Just send out the cops to arrest these mayors and governors and say, look, you're in violation of Title VIII, and it's 1 count for each illegal immigrant living in your state, and that's going to run up to jail time rather rapidly.
Well, I pray that happens, Michael, but looking at what's going on right now with these filthy, I call them the dark angels of the leftist coast and the Hollyweird, they've done even one state, like the land of milk and honey. Like I tell you, California. Look at California; it's destroyed.
They have the highest poverty rate in the nation right now.
And people, whites are fleeing out there in droves. New York's the same way. But you know what? They're bringing their filthy liberal politics to another state that's conservative. That's what's disgusting about all this. That's why I think Dustin, he said he voted, well, you know, Dustin, get out of New Jersey because your vote's never going to count there. You might as well go to Texas or Florida where your vote will count if you really are conservative, if you really have conservative principles to you. Okay? And I know, everything's a conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? We got to have somebody can speak up. And you know what? The deep state, the swamp would have never been exposed if it weren't for Trump. It would have been things as usual with Hillary Clinton in there. It would have been the status quo.
I don't know. I think we would have still been exposing the deep state, even had Hillary won in 2016. In fact, if anything, I probably would have worked a lot harder. Anyway, Tom, listen, we're going to let you go and get back to the news here. Beto O'Rourke, over the weekend, came out with this story claiming that gun-owning Texans that owned AR-15s and AK-47s, support his plan for extreme gun control, that they would be willing to destroy the weapons or do a mandatory buyback by the government to keep their children safe in the school. Well, the ordinary people of Texas aren't buying that one tiny bit, because the Texans, they do love their firearms, and they're saying O'Rourke is just making this stuff up. Now, O'Rourke is already out there saying that, heck yes, we're going to take all the guns. And this is very damaging to the Democratic Party, especially when you remember that when Beto O'Rourke was running for the Texas Senate, he said, of course, we're not going to take your guns. So right now, we're not seeing a lot of opposition to Beto O'Rourke's statements coming from within the Democratic Party, with the exception of Pete Buttigieg. And that basically tells us that, yes, the Democratic agenda is the disarmament of the American people so that they can bring about their socialist utopia. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have given Trump a list of their demands on gun legislation. We demand that you do this. Okay. So what's the end result of this? Well, what happens every time the gun grabbers get on out there? People start buying guns. Americans are arming up in huge numbers. They're concerned about self-protection in the face of rising crimes. They're concerned about politicians pushing gun grabs. And this gun store held a Beto special sale on AR-15s, and they sold out. They absolutely sold out. This is Alpha Dog Firearms of Tempe, Arizona, held a Beto special sale on AR-15s, and they completely sold out. All right, turning to the domestic politics here. The Queen of Free Stuff, Kamala Harris, is now polling ahead of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. And apparently Elizabeth Warren is dealing with an embarrassing revelation that her ancestors, rather than being Native Americans, were actually involved in war against the Native Americans. Lou Dobbs is out there slamming Mitt Romney for refusing to endorse Trump for 2020. Says, what's wrong with this man? Mitt Romney is saying he's not going to endorse Trump or any other Republican for the 2020 election. So why is he getting airtime? Apparently, Democrats are starting to question Joe Biden's mental fitness after Castro's attack on the former vice president's memory. And this is a debate that's been going on inside the Democratic Party ever since the former vice president entered the race. So on top of the creepy Uncle Joe moniker, they're concerned that he may not be mentally capable of being president. All righty. Steve Bannon is out there saying you haven't seen anything. The 2020 campaign will go down as the most vitriolic and nastiest in American history. He's absolutely correct on that one here. Sean Hannity was out there saying the 2020 Democrats are calling for a hostile government takeover. They want their socialist utopia, and they don't care how they're going to get it. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy is out there saying that Comey and McCabe will face criminal charges for the attempted coup. Well, I'm still not seeing any indictments. Rumors are flying about a second grand jury. And if they're looking for an opportunity to cut McCabe loose, this would be the week to do it with Iran dominating the headlines. Last week, Felicity Huffman was sentenced to just 14 days for her participation in the college admissions scandal. And singer John Legend is out there saying, well, you know, jails are not the answer. And yes, rich people get less jail time than poor people. But the answer is not to give the rich people more jail time, but to give everybody less jail time. Well, that may be true in a lot of cases. And I know out in California, they're getting ready to basically expunge marijuana arrest records. So maybe it's time for a little repentance, a little forgiveness. We got to take another break for commercials, and we will be back after these few words.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Anne, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show, and let's talk about the economic news for a little bit. Story coming out of Investment Watch blog. U.S. consumers at maximum leverage might not be able to save the day. And our economy, especially the consumer economy, depends on people going and buying things. At the Walmart, at Sam's Club, at Costco, buying cars, buying appliances, and it's not happening. And we are seeing freight slowing down. Drivers are losing their jobs. It's just not there. People just don't have the money. It's been sucked out to pay for all these wars. Now, over at Purdue Pharmaceuticals, they have filed for bankruptcy to get out of over 2,000 lawsuits from people who became opium addicts on the basis of their products here. But apparently prosecutors discovered that the Stackler family that owns Purdue Pharmaceuticals has been very quietly shifting large amounts of money overseas through shell corporations, Swiss banks, Cayman Islands, and it's in the billions of dollars. And prosecutors are saying, we will get that. All righty. Goldman Sachs is cutting Apple, predicts a 26% stock drop. And the reason for that is response to the new iPhone 11 has been lukewarm. The units are very pricey, and they don't really seem to have all that much more than the previous models. I mean, yes, it's got that triple camera in the back, but a lot of people are looking at that and saying it's just a stunt. And I'm sticking with my older phone. So sales forecasts for the iPhone 11 are very, very, very soft. Over at General Motors, 48,000 United Auto Workers are set for the first nationwide strike at GM in 12 years. This is going to cost GM $100 million a day in lost production. Cars not rolling off the line. Well, GM may be able to ride it out because nobody's buying cars anyway. If you've been paying attention, you've probably seen all these little holding lots where the unsold inventory is being kept. And Chinese office buildings are now starting to fail. It's the most since the great financial crisis of 2008. So they're feeling the pressure over there. All righty, we are just 1 week away from the end of Julian Assange's uniquely lengthy imprisonment for bail violation. And he's going to receive parole for the rest of that sentence, but they're going to keep him locked up on remand, awaiting his hearing on extradition to the United States, a process that could last several years. And at that point, all the excuses for Assange's imprisonment, which so-called leftists and liberals in Britain have hidden behind, will evaporate. There are no charges. There's no active investigation in Sweden where the evidence disintegrated at the first whiff of critical scrutiny. We'll talk about this more after station identification.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're talking about Julian Assange, who is basically at the end of his jail sentence for bail violation. But they're going to keep him locked up. And people are starting to say, why? There are no charges and no investigation in Sweden where the evidence of his sexual assaults disintegrated under scrutiny. He's no longer in prison for jumping bail. The sole reason for his remaining in prison will be the publishing of Afghan and Iraq war logs leaked by Chelsea Manning with their evidence of wrongdoing and war crimes. This makes Julian Assange a political prisoner. Okay, story just came in across my desk. Apparently back in July of this year, Yemen put on an exhibition of their new domestically built unmanned aerial vehicles and a missile, which Sana'a said would have game-changing effects once they are used to conduct retaliatory strikes against Saudi Arabia and its allies in response to their ongoing military aggression against Yemen. So apparently, Yemen has in fact been building this kind of weapon systems. All right, we're going to take a phone call now. Dan in Illinois. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, okay. Well, one thing with what you were just talking about, I heard that Saudi Arabia has to have $80 a barrel oil to be able to contain their lifestyle.
Yes.
And I'm looking at Zero Hedge right now. The headline, this is out at 13:52 this afternoon. Department of Justice accuses J.P. Morgan's precious metals trading desk of being a criminal enterprise. And it says,
well, good for them.
Massive. It says prosecutors described as a massive multi-year scheme to manipulate the market for precious metals futures contracts and defraud market participants. And they even mentioned RICO in this story. It's on Zero Hedge. So I'm going to continue reading the article.
The easiest way to rob a bank is to own one, and that seems to be happening a lot these days.
At least it's coming out in the open, and they're talking RICO in this, and it says that it is precisely the kind of conduct that RICO statute is meant to punish.
Yep.
So, well, anyway, that was what I wanted to let you know. So maybe you can take a look at it.
All right, thanks an awful lot. I will take a look at that a little bit later on here. Okay, over in Great Britain, the Liberal Democrats have pledged to cancel Brexit if they win the next general election. Now, they had been talking about another referendum or a people's vote, but I guess they don't think they can win that one because the British people are fed up with waiting to get out of the European Union. So now they're simply saying if the Liberal Democrats win the next election, they'll just cancel it outright. to heck with what the voters wanted. That could trigger a revolution in Great Britain. Edward Snowden is out there with a new book, which I'm going to try and hunt down here. But he's been living in exile in Russia for 6 years now. And he says, you have to be ready to stand for something. And he's absolutely right. One of the problems that we have are too many people who see wrongdoing, they see government corruption, and they say, well, I got to worry about next month's mortgage, and so I'm not going to do anything about it. Now, back right after 9/11, the government launched a terrorism watch list that basically has 1.2 million people, including 4,600 U.S. citizens. A judge has just declared that entire list is unconstitutional, and he's absolutely right. So I'm not expecting the government to tear that up, but more and more we're being reminded our current government has just wandered completely away from the Constitution, which is that supreme law of the land. Pardon me. Okay, a former NFL player, anti-black, anti-Semitic, and pro-Trump graffiti was found spray painted all over the walls of this guy's business in a suburban Atlanta in a shopping mall. And was reported as an act of ravenously anti-black, anti-Semitic white person. It turns out it was just another hate crime hoax. The guy wanted to collect on his insurance by damaging his own property. California has now banned state travel to Iowa because the state's Medicaid system will not fund gender transition surgery. This transgender thing has gotten way out of control, and I think a good example of that, there's this transgender group called Mermaids, and it says children as young as 12 who are questioning their gender should be given puberty blocking medication. Now that stuff is serious medication. You're missing with some of the fundamental chemistry of the human body. Anyway. Over in the Bahamas, now they dodged a bullet. That second tropical storm that was aimed at the Northern Islands veered to the north. So that's a thank goodness. But we are getting reports that there has been pillaging and looting across the Bahamas in the wake of Hurricane Dorian. And it's an illustration. If you're not prepared to deal with a natural disaster, things could get very ugly. Apparently, some people are literally being shot for their food. Another reason to get an AR-15. Alrighty, Windows is out with another fix. This was an update Microsoft released to fix the CPU spiking search program. Is not only causing new search problems, reports state it is breaking the start menu, the action center, and USB connections, while also causing audio problems. Okay. Which is, I mean, this is Microsoft. It fixes the CPU usage by completely breaking search so it can't even be used. Now, they've already put out a fix for the desktop search, and that appears to be working again. But I noticed over the weekend, I got this new cordless mouse because the touchpad is getting a little flaky here. And every 5 minutes or so, I'll get a notification in the lower right screen that the mouse has been configured and is ready to use. Well, I should only see that once when the mouse is configured and ready to use. And the mouse is working fine. The mouse is working just fine. All righty. Over in Sylmar, there is a wildlife way station that is having to close their doors for financial reasons. And a group of tigers and cougars who once lived in Sylmar, took a cross-country trip to their new home in Indiana. Looks like we're all moving to Indiana here. So tigers, lions, and cougars are relocated to the wildlife way, from the wildlife way station in Sylmar to their new home at the Exotic Feline Rescue Center in Center Point, Indiana. That's going to be worth a trip some weekend here. And the animals were driven 45 hours to their new digs in Center Point, Indiana. So that'll be worth going to see. And I got to tell you, that's one of the cool things about Indiana is the wildlife. You know, Canadian geese, deer all over the place. And when I finally get things unpacked, I'm going to have a lot of fun with my telephoto lens here. Over in France, the yellow vest protests are continuing. I think they're in their 44th week. They're not getting any coverage in the U.S. corporate media. And apparently the protests are against President Macron's economic policies. And it has got especially heated in Nantes, where clashes between police and protesters left several people injured. Some 1,800 people took to the streets of the city Saturday, according to police figures. This week, the Yellow Vests tried a different approach to the protest, avoiding the city center and hitting different routes instead. So they're still out there as well. We need to see more protests in this country. Speaking of France, as you all know, this last year, or earlier this year, tragically, the Notre Dame Cathedral caught fire. Apparently, some construction equipment that was left up on the roof where they were fixing the spire sparked, ignited the fire, and just burned the place. It has now come on out that the Parisians were exposed to alarming levels of lead because all the roofing on Notre Dame was lead, was basically lead tile. And apparently dangerous dust was scattered all across Paris. Officials were afraid to alert people. Probably didn't want a negative impact on tourism again. Out in Hawaii at the Mauna Kea Observatory, the Gemini Observatory telescope took a picture of our latest interstellar visitor. Now, you probably remember a while back, there was this very elongated rock called Oumuamua that soared through our solar system. And they tracked its orbit, discovered it was a hyperbola, meaning it came from outside the solar system and was departing to outside the solar system. So is this one. This one, however, is a comet. And come December, it's going to be very close to the sun. I mean, really close, probably close enough where tidal forces, I think, are going to tear it apart. But it should be rather spectacular, I think. All right. Now, getting on back, pardon my hiccups. And, all righty. Looking at an email here right now and saying when Beto was running for Senate last year here in Texas, I don't recall him advocating open borders or gun confiscation. We know that he didn't. So obviously, anyone running for statewide office in Texas could never get elected that way. Now, since a lot of outside money was behind his run for the Senate, I have to believe the real Beto is on display now, not the guy who ran for Senate. Scary to think he got 49% of the vote. And again, I think the fact that hardly any of the Democratic candidates are attacking Beto for his, heck yes, we're going to take the AR-15s and AK-47s, basically reveals that the Democratic Party does have a gun grab agenda that they're going to be pushing if they win next year. So, anyway, apparently a homeowner shoots and kills 3 people in masks in Rockdale County. Well, that's what guns are for. Okay. Oh, somebody wrote in to say Karl Marx referring to Zoroastrianism, which is actually not part, well, we basically came on out and said it was the Kabbalah. Zoroastrianism is not part of Judaism. All right, this is alarming. U.S. prepares to strike Iran as the Middle East braces for World War III to erupt. And it very well could, because at some point, I think Russia is going to just make the decision. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. Might as well be now. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez came out with this tweet about Nazis that just had everybody floored. And apparently she came on out and said that, and you need to understand, this is a former bartender that got elected to the House of Representatives. So she tweeted on out. I mean, she's been comparing the U.S. government's efforts to curtail illegal immigration into the country with Nazi Germany's systematic extermination of the Jewish people. And she's apparently made another careless remark and a revelation meant to embarrass President Donald Trump by revealing an alleged soft side for arguably his most popular political enemy has prompted a leftist to favorably quote a Nazi sympathizer without caveat in public. So that is definitely not good stuff here. All righty, and let's see. No callers waiting on the line. Let's see. Somebody wrote in to talk about my comment about Xerox PARC and how IBM blew the Superior OS X. I mean, there was definitely a deal made there. That caller was absolutely right. Okay. Bill Gates did not write DOS. He bought it from somebody, apparently for pennies, and then started Microsoft with it. And he got this sweetheart deal where DOS was included with every IBM PC for a fee. So, alrighty. Okay, I could use a few phone calls here because I ran out of talking points here. Apparently, Justin Amash may step in to run for president as a libertarian next year. And all right, so let's go back and recap what's going on with Iran and Saudi Arabia. The Houthis are taking credit for the attack on the Saudi refinery. We know that last July, the Houthis put on display their newly developed drones and a missile. So they've obviously been working on this technology. Mike Pompeo is out there saying, no, it had to be Iran. Middle East Eye is saying, actually, it was launched from Iraq. But again, why would the Houthis take credit for it, knowing that it's probably going to result in a serious escalation of Saudi attacks on their territory? So half of Saudi Arabia's oil output has been knocked offline for a couple of weeks at least. 5% of the global oil supply. Oil prices understandably went up. The oil stocks went up. The stock market as a whole went down. So this thing is going to have repercussions. But the most alarming thing is this rush to judgment that Iran did it, that Iran is somehow responsible, that either Iran supplied the cruise missiles and drones to Yemen, even though Yemen has demonstrated they can make this stuff themselves now, or that the attack was launched from Iran. But at this point, it looks like there is a push for war with Iran, which I think would be and horrendous mistake. And it does risk getting us into direct conflict with Russia. I'm amazed it didn't happen in Syria, but everybody was, staying on their side of the lines. But these people in Washington, D.C., they're not going to be happy until they get us into a full-blown global war. And I was kidding with Claire earlier today that we got out of Hawaii just in time, because if war with Russia and China comes, that island is a target because of all the military assets there. All the communications for the Pacific Fleet go through Pearl Harbor. And so, yeah, it will be a target. All right, we're going to take another break here for commercials. Please join us on the air, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back after these few words.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
As a listener of RBN, you're surely concerned about being informed and being ready for whatever may come. Please consider the following questionnaire as a soul-jarring wake-up call. If you answer no to more than 2 of these following questions, you probably aren't going to make it through any major disruption in our country. The questions were compiled by people that have been there. Are you really ready? Do you own your own firearm for the primary defense and protection of you and your loved ones? Have you ever been professionally trained to stand against life-threatening behavior? Have you ever practiced enough to fire 500 rounds during a 2 to 4 day time frame, day and night? Can you load, unload, fire, and clear a jam in total darkness? Have all the adults in your household been professionally trained? Are you, life and death, comfortable with your abilities with pistol, revolver, shotgun, and rifle? Are you aware that everything that you do to prepare for an emergency is a waste of time, money, and energy? If you haven't honed your abilities to their highest level to protect and keep what you have, do you have the repair parts that will most likely be needed for each of your firearm, and do you have the ability to install those parts? Could you completely clean every firearm you own? Are you aware that your body won't go where your mind hasn't been? In other words, without proper training, followed by regular practice, you probably will not win a gunfight. Well, how did you measure up? Take the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to start correcting your deficiencies by receiving your Commander Lifetime Membership with Front Sight Firearms Training Facility. A one-time donation to RBN for $500 will give you a Commander Lifetime Membership at Front Sight as a tremendously huge thank you bonus. See details on RBN's webpage to make it happen. The clock is ticking. You had better be ready before it happens.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. unemployment getting worse.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to the phones here to Keith Rogers. Aloha, Keith. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, Mike, I had a couple of things here for you. I wish Americans could see what these war hawks are doing here, but I have a note from my show last night. During McNamara's Fog of War video that he did, there was a quick blurb on there, and what it was 67 cities that were firebombed by the United States, in which McNamara, talking to LeMay, said that if we'd lost the war, we'd been prosecuted as war criminals.
Yes.
And this is on top of the 50-some cities over in Germany that were firebombed. And then we have all these CIA-led Indochina wars down through Papua New Guinea. Australia helped there. The countless millions and millions of people. And then CIA's John Stockwell, Philip Agee, all these guys that came forward about the CIA's actions. All these things were done in our names.
Yes.
And this is why when you hear someone like in Iran chant death to America, that they have a valid reason, and yet Americans get indignant. And so right now, when you hear them talking about going to war with Iran, if you watch that video, Psychiatry in the Military, The Hidden Agenda, 98% of the U.S. soldiers are currently on some kind of a PTSD-type drug.
Yes.
We have all branches of the military that are committing suicide, on top of the 8,000 veterans annually, and then the VA that's killed basically 307,000 by neglect. This country is in disrepair. And so I guess my comment is if the United States launches another attack based on total lies, will everyone still be sitting there bolstering the military as our boys and the countless deaths that are caused in our names?
Yes. Well, obviously, I'd like to see a different outcome. I'm frankly a little dismayed that more people aren't upset about the fact that Saddam Hussein did not, in fact, have nuclear weapons or weapons of mass destruction. I thought it was rather tasteless of George Bush to show that little slideshow at the correspondents' dinner saying, well, those weapons of mass destruction are around here somewhere. And, well, nope, they're not here. And, big joke.
But did you catch what you just said? Yeah, did you catch what you just said? Yeah. This is no different than Pompeo there talking about his West Point days, how he lied, cheated, and stole, and the crowd applauds.
Yes.
When Bush did that, his whole crowd, these guys are psychopaths.
At least sociopaths.
Yeah, well, whatever. They're not human.
Yeah.
But I worry about that because when you watch the videos of like Vietnam and stuff of what the napalm bombing did down there, and there's still areas of Vietnam that are even ungrowable today. The grass grows and that's about it. The veterans that were even sprayed with that defoliant of DDT and stuff.
Agent Orange.
No fog of war here. Yeah, Agent Orange, yeah. But there's no fog of war here. They don't care as long as they have their agenda. And on my show, was it 2 weeks ago, I ran the thing on Ho Chi Minh about how he was used by the United States during the World War II, given rifles and radios, and he gave off the troop locations of the Japanese and also alerted the U.S. when they had a shot-down pilot. And it was when Vietnam declared its independence, can't have that. And that's exactly what we see. And I'm worried about Greenland now because they, again, just like Papua New Guinea and those guys, when they declared themselves independent of the Dutch, the U.S. swoops in there. And even McCarthy there, when he landed on Papua New Guinea there, he took with him his geologist to scout out all the minerals and stuff. This is all it's about, is the resources of other people.
Yeah, well, this goes back to Smedley Butler and his treatise that war is a racket.
Yep. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. I just feel sorry because not only will U.S. boys be dying, but other people will be dying like that. And And because of our twisted media, we don't see the bloated dead carcasses.
No, we don't.
Humans. And that's how they keep this sanitized from Americans,
Yes. No, they don't want
Anyway, my
Americans.
best clear, okay?
All right, thanks an awful lot. No, the corporate media does not want the American people to see the reality of what all these wars have done, not just to our kids in uniform, but to civilians on the ground, how they've literally wrecked these countries that used to be beautiful, well-maintained, and now they're all shot up. And no, we're not supposed to know about that. We're supposed to think that wars are squeaky clean and we go in and we shoot the bad guys and everything is going to be okay. It doesn't really work that way. McNamara was right about the fog of war. Okay, we got to take another break for commercials. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat, very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Now, one of the talking points we're getting from the corporate media over and over and over and over again is how the Houthis are linked to Iran. And it's actually, they're not that close. The Houthis follow Zaydism, which is a branch of Shia Islam, separate from the Twelver branch of Iran's regime. Now, they received weapons, money, and fuel from Iran, but the relationship to Tehran is less direct than that of groups like Hezbollah or Iraq's militia. At times, the Houthis have even defied their Iranian backers. So it's not as cozy as the media would want to tell you. All right, let's see. We got a caller waiting on the line. Curtis in Tennessee. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. Yes, I'm calling in about Beto's comments, and I'm interested in your opinion. I think those comments were highly irresponsible, and the average response, at least from the South or Middle America around here, is that it's almost a declaration of civil war. Gun sales are up.
Yep.
There's a lot of half-cocked veterans around that seem to consider them fighting words. So is it just responsible, immature, or is there something behind it, like getting people fired up and divided?
Well, there's always getting people fired up and divided. That's a typical campaign strategy. But what Beto has done is basically expose the fact that the Democratic Party does have a gun grab agenda. Very few of the other candidates have spoken out against his comments. And so I can understand people getting very, very nervous. And yeah, people are buying guns. They're arming up as well. They should. You're right. It does risk civil conflict. I would really hate to see that happen. But the fact of the matter is that this government, especially the liberals, keep pushing and pushing and pushing their various agendas: open borders, gun grab, Green New Deal. And at some point, I think the American people are going to snap awake and say, wait a minute, this stuff is just completely crazy. And it's a question of, who pulls the first trigger. And I would caution against that, because whoever does pull the trigger first is going to lose in the court of world public opinion. But again, if they start door-to-door gun confiscations, it could happen easily. Now, Beto was out there talking about this story that nobody believes about how Texas AK-47 and AR-15 owners were ready to surrender their guns to keep our school children safe. Well, obviously, these Texans aren't the problem. They're not the ones who are getting ready to go in and shoot up a school. Okay? What we're seeing is a bunch of drugged up patsies who are sent on in to create all this bloodshed so that the government can keep saying, we have to save all the children by banning all the guns. Now, every once in a while, you'll see somebody who will drive drunk and they'll kill people. And as a matter of fact, drunk drivers are killing more people than the mass shooters. But nobody seriously talks about banning all cars for all people. They talk about, we need to deal with those who are taking chemical substances and behaving irresponsibly. And that's true not just for cars, it's true for guns. And the vast majority of gun owners are very safe. They take good care of their equipment. They've been through gun safety courses, or if not the Front Sight Academy, and they're good people. And the Democrats want to criminalize you for the mere possession of something they're uncomfortable with. And that really is dictatorship. Now, nobody's going to force you to buy a gun. If you don't like guns, nobody's going to force you to buy a gun. But don't go around and say that nobody's allowed to have guns because you're not comfortable with them.
Right. Do you think the Democrats are serious, or do you think they're just grandstanding and trying to create something controversial to get support from some radicals?
I think they're very serious about it. They've been pushing this agenda against the Second Amendment for decades now. And Beto actually has done a lot of damage to the Democratic field with this comment of his, and the other candidates in not speaking out against him are doing even more damage. So I think it was a huge goof on his part, especially coming off of his run for the Texas Senate, in which he said, no, we're not going to take your guns. So it reveals him to be a liar and a hypocrite. Again, the enthusiasm with which he made that statement about, yes, we're going to take your guns, I think that really woke a lot of people up.
Right. Well, I noticed a lot of applause in the audience, and I can only assume then that the audience was padded with their supporters. But they
always pad the audience.
Right. Yeah. Oh, what's your assumption as far as the overall, I guess, climate in the United States? Do you think the U.S. is leaning towards gun confiscation, or do they reject it as just a bad idea?
I think the vast majority of Americans reject it as a bad idea, precisely because they know they have not done anything wrong, and therefore they're not willing to give up their guns. And let's face it, guns are expensive, and they're not just going to turn it on over to the government on the government's say-so because of the very bad way the government has been behaving. And as that caller said earlier, the U.S. is sending guns to Israel. They're sending guns down to Mexico, which, by the way, Mexico wants that to stop. So the U.S. is giving guns to everybody, but they don't want the American people to have them.
Right. Well, thank you very much. Nice talking to you. I'll probably call in again sometime.
I would certainly appreciate that. Okay. Thank you, Curtis. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Now, here's an interesting take on the Saudi oil field attack. This is from Investment Watch blog. And basically is saying that this may have been an inside job and that it was a false flag one day after the bankers announced an IPO of Aramco. Now, the reason I'm having trouble with this, and apparently this began with an article from CNN, anybody who's watching this knows that any uplift to the oil prices caused by this is going to be short-term. And apparently in this CNN story, the Yemeni Houthis claim they had help from inside the kingdom. So I'm not sure if I'm really willing to go with this one. It's a bit of a reach, and I'm a great believer in keeping it simple and Occam's razor. We're still seeing this brouhaha, if you will, over 5G versus 4G. And apparently Cheryl Atkinson is saying 5G is just 4G on steroids. And she's out there screaming that the telecom industry has provided no scientific evidence 5G exposure is safe. Well, I'm concerned about the sum total exposure to electromagnetic radiation, not just from the cell phone, but from the laptop, from the TV set, from radars, from AM and FM radio. And I think there's an issue, but unfortunately it's been too monetized for it to ever really be shut down. Now, Apple, even though it is currently not on the iPhone 11, they're pushing nationwide 5G, so customers will have to upgrade and buy new iPhones, driving their profits back up. No, Apple, I'm not buying a new iPhone. I'm very happy with the one I've got. I'm not going to replace it until it dies. And by the way, it has become less expensive to replace the battery on an iPhone than to buy a new one. All right, let's take another phone call from Joseph in Hawaii. Aloha, Joseph. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael. I wasn't sure if you had a chance, maybe you've talked about it. Sometimes I can't listen to your whole show, but if you talked about a recent article that came out in Civil Beat here locally about Tulsi Gabbard. This is in regards to, I guess, she has a individual that she is paying to pretty much run or do analysis and run her campaign. He lives remotely in Washington State, and I guess the article was kind of negative on this because Tulsi is not revealing, I guess, questions to the media and to Civil Beat, regarding who this person is and so on and so on. I personally have, been more of a supporter of Tulsi than the others, and I guess I didn't feel like she should be singled out for not disclosing information necessarily.
Yeah.
That for whatever reason, because if you were to go to any of the candidates, they have so many phantom donors and who knows what associated with them that I didn't know if this was something you had actually read or were familiar with. So I was going to get your take on it.
No, I didn't read the article here, and Tulsi has been treated so unfairly by the press. I can understand why she might be reticent to give them any more cannon fodder. There may be somebody, this person running her campaign, there may be something in their background from 35, 40 years ago. They abused a teddy bear or something that would be used against her. I think Tulsi's biggest mistake right now, though, is, believe it or not, she put out an exercise video. And I think that is so demeaning, and she should not have done that. I mean, unless she's already decided she's out of the running for president and she's already looking for her next gig. But, and she's pleasant to look at when she's working out, but I think it lacks a certain dignity.
I don't know. I guess some people who like to videotape the workouts for whatever reason, I don't know. But getting back to the issue that I called about, I guess, regarding her, I guess the thing that they were saying is, or what the Civil Beat reporter did, he was sort of all the negativity that was in the article, is that he literally went, uninvited to this person's place, which is in a remote area of Washington State, up by Chelan, Lake Chelan area. And this person has a cabin. He works remotely, and there's a couple of things with this. One, he actually went up to the door unannounced to this cabin, and was now, in the article was speaking negatively how this person was not welcomed. Another person had commented that, you show up, I guess there was people commenting on this article, and one person in defense of Tulsi said, if you were to show up at my door out in the middle of nowhere, just as a reporter, I don't think I'd welcome you either. That's, so an uninvited person. And the other thing too about this is that Tulsi doesn't have a budget to pay for, this, to the extent that these other candidates may have to be paying for these high-level operatives to be doing their work for them. And so you got to cut her a little slack for basically being able to pay for what she can pay for, and so forth. The article was, or people were saying the reason she's not on the debate stage, maybe it's because she didn't use a more notoriety, some kind of firm that has a lot more notoriety, and they're using that as an excuse as to why she's not on the debate stage. And I just thought that was a little bit unfair. I don't know what Civil Beat. I read their articles periodically. I just didn't know if they had kind of a slant one way or another from where they come from on how they do their analysis and reporting, investigative reporting.
Well, I agree. I would have liked to have seen Tulsi on that stage. I think the rest of the Democratic field is afraid of her because she does make sense and people resonate with what she's saying. And they just constrained the rules to exclude her. And what it was is they set a certain ranking in the polls that you needed to have and a certain amount of fundraising that you had accomplished. And on the basis of that, they said Tulsi isn't qualified. She's not going to be in the debate stage. And it's very unfair, not just to Tulsi Gabbard, it's unfair to the American people who really need to hear her message.
Totally agree. If you hadn't had a chance to read her message regarding the strike that occurred on those oil fields, she kind of came out and made a very, very, very strong message about Donald Trump's reaction to that, how he was waiting for the Saudi Arabia people, I guess, before he was going to make a decision or something to that extent. And she said a one-liner that's in the news big time today. If you have a chance to just Google her, you'll see that one-liner. It's all over the place. But give her credit for that. She's not giving Donald Trump cutting him any slack on this. So it's good that she's brave enough to come and step on those areas that no one else seems to be willing to do. Anyway, Michael, thank you very much. Love your program.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. And I'm looking at the story right now. Tulsi Gabbard accuses Trump of being Saudi Arabia's bitch over the response to the attacks on the oil fields. Now, I'm looking through the article here. She says basically Trump awaits instructions from his Saudi masters. But on the other hand, Trump is saying he wants to be sure that he's going to launch the missiles at the right target. And that may be because he was so embarrassed by his cruise missile attacks into Syria, which turned out to be based on false flag attacks by the Syrian rebels. But the article is saying Iranian-backed Yemeni rebels. So apparently Gabbard made the same off-color remark last year after Trump stood by Saudi Arabia amid the backlash for the murder of writer Jamal Khashoggi. All righty. Gabbard warns that the DNC debate qualifications could make voters think the fix is already in. The fix is already in. The fix is already in. These things are just so rigged. All right. So, we talked about the 5G here. Now, we're going to take another break here for commercials. It's our last commercial break. We'll be back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right, all the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus magful clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
Republic Broadcasting Network depends on listener support of our advertisers and of our sponsors. We'd like to especially thank all of you who have taken advantage of our fundraiser with FrontSight Bonus. Those who are now FrontSight members, please train as soon as possible for your sake and for that of our nation. And please consider sharing your training and what you've learned when you arrive home. Republic Broadcasting Network has to stop promoting this fundraiser on air and on the website in just a few days. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, president of FrontSight, made a gracious exception to his no media rule for us at Republic Broadcasting Network. Thank you, Dr. Piazza. And once you've been to FrontSight, feel free to call your favorite host and share your experience on the air. We can continue this fundraiser without media help, but it'll be totally up to the listeners to spread the information. Please call Dan Sutterfield in Missouri at 573-465-2356, 573-465-2356. That's 573-465-2356.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, last segment of our program today. Now, inside every cell phone is this little chip called the SIM card. It's what identifies the phone to the cell towers. And more countries are now passing mandatory SIM card registration laws, requiring that you provide personal information, including a valid ID, or even biometrics as a condition for purchasing or activating a SIM card. Now, this, of course, allows the state to identify the owner of a SIM card and infer who is most likely making a call or sending a message at any given time. This, of course, undermines people's ability to communicate anonymously, organize and associate with others. It infringes the rights to privacy and freedom of expression. And by making it easier for law enforcement authorities to track and monitor people, these laws threaten vulnerable groups and facilitate generalized surveillance. And there is the important part here, because everywhere your cell phone goes becomes part of your permanent record. Remember when you were a kid in grammar school and they said, you got to be good. There's a permanent record someplace. And back then we knew it was nonsense. Not anymore. Total information awareness, NSA scanning. They want to keep track of all of us on the hope that when something bad happens, they can sort through all of that data and come up with the bad guy. But apparently, a lot of countries have got these mandatory SIM card registration laws. What they want to do is get rid of burner phones. The idea that you can buy a phone that is anonymous. So anonymity is definitely going away. All right, so we're watching this situation unfold with the attack in Saudi Arabia. And obviously we need to keep an eye here. So anyway, apparently down in Georgia, a town fired their entire police department. Chaos did not erupt. Apparently they were able to get along just fine here. So apparently a cop was arrested with gloves, knife, and zip ties while on his way to meet a young girl. I don't understand this. I don't understand this fixation that people have with very young children. It's a mystery to me. It's just an absolute mystery. All right, so we're almost here to the end of the show here. And again, keeping an eye on, I'm a little upset by what Tulsi Gabbard said. It's almost like she's goading Trump to do something. And Trump was right to say, we need verification because, again, Israel's being accused of it. Saudi Arabia is being accused of it. Iraq is being accused of it. The Houthis are saying they did it. And Iran is saying they didn't. So it is definitely a confused mess. All right, there's some music time for me to get on out of here. Stay tuned for John Stedmiller. Remember, there is a slight chance I will not be able to do the radio show tomorrow because we're picking up our car. And take what you learn here, share it with everybody that you know. Please donate to RBN. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.